Namaste and welcome to the program presented by YTV Source with me, Sarla Karki. On today's episode, we are here at Masters in Cooperation and Development at Dhobigat, Lalitpur, covering a seminar on social entrepreneurship issues. Let's have a look.
In the course book that you have in front of you, Dr. Hopkins, we have tried to package many different issues that are related to the development, the challenges or the issues that the students or the policymakers will face. So our effort here is to inform the students with all the latest debates going on in related to development issues. And we think social entrepreneurship is one of that important issue that our students must have some kind of understanding. Tomorrow, when they go back into the job market, some of them might be in the policy level. Some of them may actually be working at the practice level. So they need to understand this concept. For me also, this is new one because in Nepal we've seen the concept of social entrepreneurship taking some kind of prominence. But perhaps it's not up to at that height yet where it should be. Recently, about 3 months back, the one local corporate body, they organized a series of this, I think, third or fourth annual event that they organized. It's recognizing the social entrepreneurship, other people who have contributed on some respective social fields from businesses. For the students, I think for myself also, when I earlier provided training on entrepreneurship, one of the things that I said to the students is about what is entrepreneurship? Do all the people have the qualities of being an entrepreneur? Perhaps not. So I thought there are 2 or 3 important things for an entrepreneur. Do we dream? Not while we are asleep, but do we dream while we are awake? Do we have a dream? Do we have a passion? Do we have a vision to make something real? And I think entrepreneurship perhaps starts with that. Because a lot of us may like to live in comfort zone, but do we like to challenge ourselves? Do we like to stretch our limits? So I think that's where the entrepreneurship would start. So definitely with vision, then we need to put a lot of efforts, take a lot of responsibilities for the actions. Then we can materialize the dream that we have. But when we add social, then what does it mean? Because in entrepreneurship we know we do things for earning money, perhaps making profit. But when we talk about social entrepreneurship, then perhaps it's non-profit kind of thing. Then if it's non-profit, then how does these 2 things blend? Entrepreneurship, which in essence is actually about turning your idea into some kind of business. And then if you add social, what does it mean? So that's what I think we will hear today from Professor Hopkins in much more detail. What is it about and what does it take to be a social entrepreneur?
And social entrepreneurship is relatively new in the world, but I think it's the greatest thing going. Number 1, social entrepreneurship may save our planet from disaster. It may save our planet from expulsion. It may save our planet from blowing up. And that's why social entrepreneurship is really, really so important. And thank you all for having an interest in it. And obviously, I have a lot of energy and excitement about this topic. See, here's what an entrepreneur is. An entrepreneur, and you probably know this, is a business person who starts a business. Anybody. And we went through 5,000 businesses getting here because there's little tiny businesses. And it's all the same. They're accounting. They have to buy their merchandise, they have to sell their merchandise, and they have to have a bottom line. And the bottom line, hopefully, is not in the negative, but is in the positive. Every business in the world is what makes us really, really powerful. But I think that we have come to a point where not only are you responsible for changing the world, but our businesses are responsible for changing the world. And wouldn't it be fabulous if every business in the world gave back to their community to make it a better place? By the way, if we didn't have a wonderful place to live in, these businesses would not thrive. They would not be able to make money to pay for students' schools or for food or for transportation. Why can't everybody become social entrepreneurs, which which means they give back to the community in one way or another. Maybe this school, which is an NGO. Maybe this school, which is not necessarily a for-profit school. Maybe it's an NGO that has to do with Save the Children, or maybe Save the Whales. Or maybe it has to do with building and constructing schools in the Dading district, which is what we are doing, and that's why we're here. We are here with an organization, an NGO called Global Community for Education, to build schools in Nepal. Simply because one of my friends and one of the great business people in Dallas, Texas, went trekking up the Himalayas, and he met a Sherpa who helped him carry his luggage and carry his gear up the mountains. And when they finished and came down, my friend said to Tonka, the Sherpa, "You are so smart, and you're too smart to be a Sherpa. You need to go back to college, and I'll send you to college." And Tonka said, "But I can't afford to pay you back." And he said, "I don't want you to pay me back. I want to be a philanthropist, and I want you to pay it forward." Which means you help somebody become somebody. And that is my philanthropy to you. Don't need to worry about paying me back. Well, when Tonka finished at Trebillon University, he called Don and he said, "Don, I want you to give me a graduation present. I want you to help me build a school in my hometown in the Dading district where students there cannot go to school." He said, "I went to school, but I walked 2.5 hours to school and 2.5 hours home. But many of the families there cannot afford to let their children go that long away from the school, from home, because they have so many responsibilities in the gardens, so many responsibilities in the house, so many responsibilities with the animals, so many responsibilities in the fields." So Don said, "You know what? I will. I'll help you build a school." Now, I don't know how you do that, because I'm not smart enough to figure out how to build a school. But Don came back to the United States, raised money from his friends, and raised enough money to build the first school 7 years ago. Today, they have 4 schools, educating 900 students. And the way I got involved is that Don asked me for money to help him build the school. And you know, I thought, I liked the concept. And you know what? My mother left my brother and sister and I some money in an insurance policy when she died. Why don't we honor our mother and give this insurance policy to Don to help him build the schools? So consequently, one of the schools is named after my mother, Patricia Murray Hopkins School. These are the entrepreneurs. So let's go to the next one and find out what a social entrepreneurship, a social entrepreneur is. And these are businesses who give back to the community. They take care of a cause. They take care of a cause. And they take care of a cause. And they find the solutions for problems. And you might recognize some of these people here, because these are Nepali people who do things for the community. And you might recognize that these are students of mine in my social entrepreneurship class in Dallas, Texas. Philanthropy, as I mentioned, is just giving of yourself. But here's a little boy. His name's Jackson. He lives in my block, in my house. His mother's a philanthropist. And she decided when he was 2 years old that every birthday party of his would not be about him, but would be about Scottish Rite Hospital. And so when the invitation comes out to come to the birthday party, it's to bring a toy for a child at Scottish Rite Hospital. And the reason Scottish Rite Hospital is because when Jackson was born, he was born with only 4 fingers, 3 fingers and a thumb. And Scottish Rite Hospital built him a finger so that he has 4 fingers and a thumb. The mother was so excited that Scottish Rite Hospital had helped her with Jackson that she decided Jackson could use his birthday parties to give back to Scottish Rite Hospital. Well, Jackson just celebrated his 7th birthday, and they're still giving presents to Scottish Rite Hospital. But since he was 5, he has a lemonade stand. And he sells lemonade outside of his house, and usually during a big festival. And a couple of years ago, he made $1,300. And the reason is because they invited all the rich people in town to come and buy lemonade. And they said, "How much does lemonade cost?" And he said, "Anything you want to give." And here's this little 7-year-old boy or 5-year-old boy asking grown-ups to buy lemonade and give anything they want to. And people started giving big money. So last year, it had enough money to buy a hand, an artificial hand. And this year they were trying to raise enough money to buy a foot. So that's what his birthday party is about. It's about philanthropy, giving back. Now, Jackson is going to be a philanthropist all his life, and he's going to use his birthday party probably all of his life, because you know what? Philanthropy is a learned behavior, which means you learn it. You're not born giving away. And if you've had children, it's born. Our children are born to take. It's mine. It's mine. It's not yours. Share. You have to share. No, I don't want to share. It's mine. We teach them to share. We also teach them philanthropy. So when we give to people, we think we're helping people. But more than helping people, we're helping ourselves. And this is proven in a book that I'm going to give to Prakash called Give to Live. People who give, it is proven, are healthier. There's something about self-esteem that improves one's attitude. It helps their families when they give away because they're better people, they're better parents. And I don't know if you've ever tried giving away something and patting yourself on the back, which is a way to say, good job, Bob. You did good today, Bob. Thank you, Bob, for doing such a good job. And when you go to bed at night, you think about the things that happened that day, and then one of the things that will pop up is that you helped somebody else. And that's back to social responsibility.
Thank you for your presentation. It was wonderful and eye-opening. The only question I have is, like, what things are better now than you were?
Okay, before me, 10 years ago, 25 years ago?
Anything. After 22 years that you saw that big billboard?
Oh, since I've seen the billboard?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, the best times I think the world has been in was when I saw the billboard back in the 1950s. You know, before nuclear weapons, and before people went crazy. Our segment of our society has kind of gone crazy. A little bit. But fortunately, there's enough of them left, or us left, to uncraziness the world, possibly. One person at a time. Oh, I look around the world and I see so many wonderful things. Let's just talk about race relations. Let's talk about diversity. Let's talk about women's rights. Women in many countries still don't have the ability to speak their minds. But in America, women have progressed significantly. In America, the black person has progressed significantly. And it's because of Martin Luther King. It's because of Gandhi. It's because of people like that. And these are our leaders in social entrepreneurship. These people are social entrepreneurs. They all give money and they all give back. Mother Teresa was a social entrepreneur. She worked for a church, but she spent her life giving back. And I think she definitely has made a difference in Calcutta, in India. So all of these people that I know of and I look at are my role models. And I try not to focus on the negative. I try to focus on what we have accomplished, because that encourages me to keep doing more.
My question is a bit concerned with the business enterprises or business corporate houses. So far I'm hearing you that I couldn't find how can we link the individual responsibility and the responsibility of the corporate house. Let me provide a small reference that there is a Global Development Fund, and I had read one data that if the old richest 100 companies offer just 1% of their annual profit, donate for the global development, then it will exceed the fund that is accumulated in the Global Development Fund. So, and there is no any legal obligation for them to contribute to the global development. So how can we eradicate poverty, whereas these companies, obviously they are responsible for adjusting the resources. So if we only work in our individual level, trying to be the social entrepreneurship, how can we help the society unless we are able to bring those giant personalities, legal personalities, help for these things that is responsible for causing the gap between the rich and poor. So how can I learn from that? How can I teach in my society that these people also one day will be inclined to help in the society, though there is no any legal obligation for them?
I have a magazine called Philanthropy World Magazine. It's in my briefcase. And my magazine was about honoring people in the world who did things corporately to imbue and to get other people who head up corporations to do the same thing because it was the right thing to do. So do you know that the man who founded CNN, his name was Ted Turner. Ted Turner decided he wanted to be the one to eradicate polio in South Africa and in Africa. So he gave $1 billion. And then he went knocking on the door of Bill and Melinda Gates. When Bill and Melinda Gates were in their 40s, they're now in their 50s, when they were in their 40s. And Bill and Melinda Gates says, we're not ready to give yet, but we are getting prepared and we are creating this foundation. And what it was peer pressure, and peer pressure, and peer pressure. And it's people like me and you who go out and tell others, this is the right thing to do. And this is what we have to tell our children. This is the right thing to do. This is the way you behave. That you give, if you find some money on the ground, you turn it in to somebody and say, this is not mine, this is somebody else's. And it's peer pressure. And I think, especially with the internet, and now that we are able to influence each other by way of the internet, I think that's the way to do it. I don't know, I think laws can make people do certain things, but I want us to get to a point in the world that we don't have to have a law to do the right thing. That we just do it because it's the right thing to do.
One of the things that we've learned going through some of these classes and going through some of these critical thinking skills, especially on this topic of social entrepreneurship, is the fact that we built it off of communication. One of the things that we did is we went to go help a nonprofit. That's not really exploiting child labor. I understand the concern, because that is a concern worldwide, because we have a concern in the U.S. that we don't want to buy products that are produced from child labor, and you guys don't want to produce anything, or you don't want to buy anything produced from this either. That's one of the issues that we talk about. We happen to work a nonprofit organization called Salvation Army. I think it's an NGO actually, but they go worldwide. We helped in one small faction, one section of community, and we made a difference because we affected somebody else. And that's how you grow social entrepreneurship. Is my kids see me come here. I'm a father of 4. I'm 36. So my kids see me coming here to see things and to inspire growth among people like you, and inspire growth in myself is to come back in a couple years. We'll provide Dixit. We've already made plans. We've already started laying things out. It's just that we want to create a network of other people, not just the people in this room. Because you guys talk to 50 people a day. Just imagine if you got 2 of those people to believe what you thought, especially when it came to a nonprofit. Like, one of the things they do is they did a walk for liver cancer. And the police put it on, we help support. That's just one of those things.
My parents that raised me are not my blood parents. I've lived in Texas my whole life, and my mother birthed me with no support from my father at all. And she had a really hard time raising me and knew that I had potential to do a lot of great things, but didn't have enough to help me. So my godparents adopted me. They took me under their wing and raised me out of the kindness of their heart. And sent me to private school, gave me a private school education, and helped support me so that I could pay my own way to college. And that brought me to meet Bob Hopkins, and that brought me here today. I have a lot of time left, but I know that I'm going to do something great. And I know that I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to be somebody who goes out there and does something for my community. At the same time, it's a job, you know, like there's money involved, yes, but that's not the driving force. So I think that you're right. It's being developed. We don't know the exact definition, but that's what we're all here for. We're here to make that definition ourselves and to pave that way. So I think it's really great that we're all here together discussing it and sharing ideas and trying to build a definition. And it's only going to progress from here. So, and like I said, everybody has a story. If you think about it hard enough, it connects to you. And that's something that you always tell us, you know, share a story. Tell a story with something that the message you're trying to deliver. And, you know, That's pretty much what I had to say about it. That's what social entrepreneurship means to me, and it's deep rooted in philanthropy.
I work with an NGO that works for children and youth for their education and health. We normally don't use the word social entrepreneurship here, but we know little bit about it. And my understanding and your understanding might be different. I have a question. If you establish an NGO in the US and raise funds for the children, poor children in Nepal, and you send you send some amount out of that raised amount, and rest of the amount you make money for your living, whether you are a social entrepreneur or not. This is my own question. And another question is, whether social entrepreneurs are born or they are developed.
Social entrepreneurs are developed. Nobody's born anything, I don't think. I think the influence of our society and our parents is what develops people. And their ideas, their morals, and their values come from what they have been taught. They know nothing when they come out. That's my opinion. Number two is, nothing happens in an organization without somebody being in charge. And if you just bring in volunteers to be in charge, volunteers come and go. They don't have to go to work. Volunteers are there when they want to be. So therefore you got to pay people. But there are limits on what people should be paid in a nonprofit or in an NGO organization. And I know that a lot of money goes into the organization, but some of it has to go to pay the rent, and some of it has to go to pay the people. And I'm okay with the fact that nonprofits are businesses. They need to be treated like businesses. There's a bottom line. And there's somebody who's got to be responsible for that. And that person can be responsible if they're paid only. You can't make volunteers responsible. You cannot discipline volunteers for being irresponsible for taking on the job. So I'm okay with payments going to people to run nonprofit organizations and NGOs.
Can we think like social entrepreneurship also an influence from a developed country to underdeveloped country? Because you are sending most of the fund is coming from the developed country. Like for example, aid is coming from developed country. There is also a different story behind that aid and other thing. So can we think this social entrepreneurship also a part of that thing to develop influence in the developed, underdeveloped country from developed country?
I think it would be helpful for me and for you to hear each other talk about what is your responsibility and can you do anything here to make a difference in your own country. And one of them is make your students come back here after you've sent them to get educated someplace else and to put them all to work. And your own students that you all have in your classes, how do you get them to do something? You organize them to do it and you say, on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, everybody will report to the river. We will have gloves, we will have shovels, we will have a dump truck, and we're going to clean the river. I made that suggestion in India and everybody walked out because they didn't want to do it. That was a volunteer activity. But your students should do what the teachers say that they're supposed to do, even if it's on a Saturday, to do something positive for your country. So anyway, instead of talking about it, I think action is time for your students to take some action. And you've got student leaders, they're bright. All of my students from the fall make A's. They're respectful, they're bright, they're energetic, they're exciting, they're excited, and they will do whatever a leader tells them to do. Because somebody's got to be a leader.
For this wonderful talk, as Bob told us, they had to travel at least 30 hours of flight, hopping from one airport to other. And when they arrived at Kathmandu, it was late evening yesterday. But for his biological clock, it was actually morning, right? Because they live in one part of the world. And we are happy that they could come today here, they are not sleeping because actually Bob, his teams, all the neighbors at this moment are sleeping because we live in different world. We live in divided world, but in fact, we live in divided world geographically, but not mentally. I think we can realize that people are there in America who think of the entrepreneurship, and people are there in Nepal who think of entrepreneurship since long time ago. But it is a matter of quite paradoxical that why a lady from Albania has to come to Calcutta and become Mother Teresa. Why not somebody from Calcutta or from Oriental go to America and do the same? This is the question that I'm asking all of you. So, I don't know what makes a person entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur, a philanthropist. As somebody raised here, maybe it is part of the social group, maybe it is part of the social feeling that he has, some kind of spiritual thing, I don't know. But we being an institution, MICT being an academic institution, I think I'm pretty happy that there is a course on social responsibility. As Bob said, I just want to borrow his word, we have to force our students to become social entrepreneurs. We have to inject this idea into their mind. This is important. And I think, Prakashji, we are doing good that, MICT is introducing this kind of courses. And let's see how Midwestern University develop this. And for this, we'll definitely come to you, sir, and ask for and request for your support and cooperation.
Professor, would you mind differentiating between being an entrepreneur and being social entrepreneur? Because it's quite interrelated. It might be interrelated to some extent as well. So in your opinion, are there some sort of differences or similarities?
Yes, it's real simple. An entrepreneur is a person who starts a business. A for-profit business or a non-profit business is an entrepreneur, somebody who comes up with an idea. A social entrepreneur is that with part of the money that you get as an entrepreneur and your business, you give some of that back to a cause that you care about.
So how social entrepreneurs can be change agents, especially for young people?
How can they be change agents?
Yeah, how can they be termed as change agents?
Right. I constantly don't say change agents, but that is a good word. I say change the world, And I think those who have participated in volunteering for any organization or another know that they have changed, number one. And I think that's what they recognize the most.
Because entrepreneurship, it's always related with innovation and creativity. So they need some sort of transformation as far as possible.
Right.
So
entrepreneurs, whether they're social or not, are going to make changes. And they're going to make changes in themselves and in their families and in their world. Okay? And I think there's all kinds of ways that people are trying to measure what kind of changes are you making. But that's for people who are statisticians to come in and actually do polls and ask people how they were affected by whatever the change was. And but they definitely see the change. They know the change. It's just now a chance to verbalize it and to find out, really what are the outcomes of what they did. And people want to know that more and more about what difference did you make and how do you put that in some sort of a category.
Peer pressure, you use peer pressure in a way. You encourage others that you know and that you have met through your business and through your philanthropy to do the same as you. And, you're being a leader in that aspect. You're doing something important and other people see what you've gained from it and they want that for themselves as well. So that's kind of how becoming a change agent is spread and how it works.
So if any businessman does his or her business ethically and fulfilling all the corporate social responsibilities, then can they be termed as social entrepreneurs? Because directly or indirectly they are also serving community, being ethical.
If they're serving the community and that is part of their plan, not just haphazardly, but with a plan, that's what we're now talking is social entrepreneurship. This is with a plan. So when you create your budget, part of your money will go to or part of the time, or part of the employee's time, will go back to the community.
Professor, why would you like to call yourself as philanthropic? What is philanthropic?
Well, my mother was a philanthropist. She didn't ever call herself a philanthropist. She didn't know what that word meant. And we didn't know what this word really meant until the last 20 or 30 years, you know, what it really is defined at. It's very simply love of mankind. That's all it is love of mankind. It has nothing to do with money or anything else. And so somebody's afraid to say I'm a philanthropist because they didn't give $1 million. Not right. He gave food to the homeless. He's a philanthropist.
So how we can work with young people in case of building social entrepreneurship? How we can motivate young people for being
Well,
social
I'll let you guys answer that.
I think that question is actually fairly easy to answer. Just talk to them, get them to go in one program, spend a couple hours with a nonprofit organization, and you'll see. It's kind of like it clicks. You know, you don't certainly have to like wait on some type of feeling that you're gonna get. It clicks and it kind of sticks with you right after that. That's what it did for me.
You won't know until you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the best way to get that in there is to, if you have kids yourself or you have siblings that are younger, you definitely want to get them involved and show them that it matters to you. Because if it matters to you, it's going to matter to them. If you can't, then you have to really show it, and then they'll feel the same feeling, and they'll want to do the same thing. My kids want to come to Nepal after they hear about me coming to Nepal.
So you have been visiting different parts of the world for learning social entrepreneurship or being part of it. So what similarities and differences have you found, especially in case of Nepal and other countries?
Well, what I have learned, since I've probably been doing this the longest and the most worldwide in many different cultures, is that people don't understand the value of being a giver. And they think that they've done enough if they give to the church, because that's what they do. The church says you have to give. To go to heaven, you have to give. The church says that. But I think today I made it really clear, and I wanted to make it just as clear as I possibly could, that we have to teach our children to do this. They're not going to do it by themselves. And if their parents don't do it and their grandparents didn't do it, then they do not have a role model to fall into unless they see it on TV. And TV does a lot about social entrepreneurship these days. They're talking about join the American Red Cross, or do the Salvation Army, or do Greenpeace, or save the whales, or do something. But it's amazing. I'm hearing about kids that are doing all kinds of things on their own because they hear something on TV. One kid, little girlfriend got cancer, so she said, I want to do something for my girlfriend. So she went out and got little girls to cut their hair off. It's called Locks of Love, and give their hair to those cancer victims who lose their hair during the chemotherapy treatments. But some children come up with great ideas. I think it's though they have role models. That's my opinion.
So what sort of collaboration and partnership can be done in between your university and universities out here in Nepal for developing social entrepreneurship? Obviously.
Right. We've talked about doing some things with Nepal, and after this trip, we're going to be going back and talking. None of us are graduating from college yet, so we've got another year or two for all of us to go back and think about what we experienced here. We know a lot of Nepali students in America, and we're going to be talking with Nepali students here at several different universities, and I'm sure that we can do some follow-up and make an exchange program of some kind. And that's what I'd like to see eventually that we do.
Social entrepreneurship, since the term still isn't clearly defined, the way that I've seen it recently is through my mother. She's a hairstylist in America, and she does hair for the elderly. With that, they also have needs back at home, like they need help moving furniture or moving their houses, being relocated, and sometimes they don't have the family to do that with. So she'll ask us, her 3 boys, to come and help out them. And that's also a way she's helping out the community through the social entrepreneurship side.
So suggestions for young people out here in Nepal?
Listen, there's so much to do. I would love to be here for a whole semester with some sort of a contract to help work with these students, because as I indicated today, Nepali students are bright, they're smart, they're respectful, they pay attention, they listen, they absorb what is said, All they need is somebody to tell them what to do. And I think they would do it. Well, what I've learned about people is people don't really buy into something unless they experience it. So let's all go do something and then feel it. Feel what you're doing instead of just listening to somebody else's story. You guys go with me and then you'll understand what I'm talking about. And I think that's what you need to do. You need to get these students from every one of these schools out into the community and say, how can we improve our streets? How can we improve our neighborhoods? How can we improve our whatever? And let the students come up with the plan and let them have a goal and go do it. I have a question about Nepali people. You know, and I asked you today, asked this, you know, what do you value? What do you care about? What kind of role model are you going to be presenting to your children? Have you even thought about that? And probably most of them haven't, because I have found that Nepali people do not regularly go out and volunteer for things unless they're forced to.
Yes.
And I don't understand why not. You know, it seems like, and you know, for instance, why am I here in Nepal doing the work that the Nepali people could probably do as easily?
Yes.
And I'm not a chosen person. In other words, I don't have any more intelligence than anybody else. It's just that I decided this was important to me. What is it that we are not getting or giving our student population in Nepal that they need in order to get motivated? And I've heard several Nepali students tell me, I just can't get motivated. Why not? I don't know why. And maybe because they haven't had the experience.
Yeah, what do you think, sir? How can they be motivated?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think Nepali people, I don't know enough, but the Nepali people need to get together and discuss what is it we are not doing with our children to get them to do something positive for their country. I think possibly it might be because they think it's a losing battle, because there's so many problems, and historically, you know, your government has been up and down and up and down and all that kind of stuff. But regardless of the government, your land is your land. Your air is your air. And we've got to do something to get them that changed. I'm not sure what it is, but I'd certainly like to be part of the discussion.
Hope you like this program based on social entrepreneurship issues. We'll come back with some more entrepreneurship issues in days ahead. Keep watching programs of YTV Source. Till then, if you have any feedback, you can send us at info@ytvnepal.org. Namaste.